Yeah, God's presence is good, isn't it? Thanks, Pete. And how many have enjoyed the weekend so far? Been good? Yeah. This morning, really, we're gonna finish in an hour's time, and we've got some lunch for you to take home. And we don't want to kind of, I felt this morning, I was sort of up quite late last night, and I felt God speaking to me about some things, and which is really cool, and yeah, which is nice. Yeah. The devil was speaking some things as well, and it wasn't so nice, but it's good when God speaks. And this morning, it's just, I feel like we've had a lot of content. I don't know about you, but Pastor Sam and Pastor Steve, just the stuff that they shared is awesome. And I felt this morning too. Have you been in those kind of moments where you've come late to a joke, and so there's a few people laughing, and you walk over and they're all laughing, and then they sort of look at you just because you've simply come over there, and they're like, and you're like, yeah, with the thing, and they're like, you don't know idea what you're laughing about. No, not really, and then you say something, because you'll hear one line of a conversation, and you say something, and they go, what? You're like, what you just said. And they're like, no, but you weren't there for the previous bit of that conversation, and and you kind of like, you feel like, oh, sorry, and you're like, no, just explain it, and they're like, well, it's sort of gone, the moment's gone now, it was there and you weren't there, and I felt God tell me that little story, because this happens to me a lot, right? And and I always feel like I'm the last one to the party, like, what do you guys talk about? Well, like all my friends say, yeah, what do you guys talk about? Yeah, and but I feel like the reason why we gather here is so that we're not late to the party. Do you get it? It's so we're not late. Because the reality is no one's laughing at us. But there's something happening that we need to get ahead of. Do you get it? There's something happening that we need to get ahead of. When I was laughing because my good friend Lucian over there, I was literally thinking about them, part of our church in Napier, and him and Grace, a great couple, and I was hearing Pastor Steve speak. And these guys both were working in different parts of New Zealand, basically in different parts of New Zealand on the Friday, and shot over here. And I remember listening to Pastor Steve, and I remember thinking, man, I really hope that either Lucy or Grace are here. I was thinking they should have really heard that. It would have been so good for them to hear that. And then I looked behind, and Lucy was at the back, and I'm like, oh, yes. And then as we talked about it, Lucy's sort of trying to articulate, like, man, when Steve spoke, like, hey, we had this conversation. Like, yeah, I get it. Because Pastor Steve gives language. He sort of exegetes, if you like, what we believe as a movement of churches. He's able to just give language to stuff that we go, yeah, that's what we believe. You know what I mean? And we oh, okay. And so, but for us here today, part of me is always thinking now, we go home today, right, to our various campuses and our various cities. And I just felt today, I kind of just want to give us context for why we meet, why we do this stuff. Because hopefully no one goes home and goes, oh, that was a waste of time. Why did I come out? The food was terrible. The company was awful. Environment was, No one really goes home, hopefully, and says that. And I've spoken to a lot of you yesterday and last night at dinner. I hope you all enjoyed dinner. Thought it was a good night. And this morning, and everyone says, this is a really cool thing, that we get to do together. So the feedback's always overwhelmingly positive, not because of moments like we just had, or anything like that, but because we're here. Do you know what I mean? Because we actually get to hang out together, and we all love it. But we don't know why we love it sometimes. We don't know why it's so important for us to do this. But yet we know that deep down within us, man, we're born for these moments of connection. Do you get it? This is what we actually live for. And so context is really important, which is why we've kind of got to get ahead of the joke and understand why it's really important. Because the translation of what we get to do here needs to now go out to our campuses, so that actually we're not just a small elite group of exclusive leaders in here. We could have invited a lot more people probably, and maybe more would have come, but we thought we're going to seed something, right? So we put out the invites, and you're the ones that showed up. And that says a lot to us as, I guess, church pastors. Is anybody going to come to the things that we do? But we all know that actually this is what we're born for, right? Because I never want to get to the end of my life and go, oh man, I missed a ton of opportunities because I was working. right? Really? I missed a ton of opportunities because I was doing this, or, was it that weekend? Oh, man, I've been out last weekend, and I'm going out next, and it's quite full on, And look, I understand we're all busy, but I wonder whether we can go back and translate not even the messages are unbelievable, but translate the fact that, I met some really, really great people that actually I interacted with. And now it's not just me that knows James and Peter and Brian and Ed and all the, like we hang out all the time. But what we're looking for is at every level of every conversation, kids leaders and hosting teams and all that, to start hanging out together. Because actually together there's this weird momentum that gets created together. You even notice it this morning. Do you notice how praise and worship this morning is that much than it was yesterday morning? And you've got to understand the dynamic of that. When we first come together, not a lot of us maybe know each other, and we come in and it affects our praise. Because what we're doing? We're looking around at things. Some of us haven't been in this building, and so we're kind of looking around, and okay, this is the Equippers Church here, and, thinking about lunch and other things. But then over a 24-hour period, we've praised together, worshiped together, heard some stuff about unity and why we gather, been inspired by the leaders of our movement. We've then hung out at the beach together, right? Played together. We've seen our kids playing around. If you've got kids and they're playing and we spent hours at the lake together. Now, people could have gone home, but they didn't. They hung around. Then we come out and we have a great meal together, and people are talking and laughing. And then we wake up this morning, and there's a sense this morning of just because we've hung out, there's this momentum that gets created simply because we do that. More than anything else that we do, it's because we gather together. And so when the challenge in Hebrews goes out to gather even more so as you see the day of the Lord approaching, don't ever forsake the gathering together of the saints. We kind of now know there's a momentum that gets built just because we've decided to get together and do this. Do you get it? It's so much more powerful than I think we even realize. And that's really the context of what I want to just talk about this morning, a few things, and we're just going to pray together and prophesy together and actually declare some stuff over our campuses and over our cities. And I remember Will and Tiff, if some of you know Will and Tiff, were part of our church. And where's Tipi? Tipi ran a massive intermediate age group thing. We had like 50 kids come out to the Hawke's Bay across about 4 of our campuses. And it was just an initiative. People were asking me, and I had nothing to do with it. I'm like, I don't know. You've got to talk to Tipi. I don't know what's even happening, but our leaders know. And then a bunch of our kids went to Splash Planet in Hawke's Bay and just had a great time. And I remember Damien and Situ were there, and they connected with Will and Tiff. And I remember talking to you guys, and they're both like, man, we've met people that are kind of like us. And both got, 4 kids, and having these conversations. And then I'm talking to Will and Tiff, and they're like, man, we met this great couple, and they're doing massive in Wanganui, and we are as well. And it's just awesome. Now I talk to these guys, and they go, man, we met some great people. I'm like, yeah, Will and Tiff. Yeah, how do you know? Oh, well, they talked about you guys, and you're talking about them, and they're just going, man, this thing that we do is amazing. It's just so awesome, And all it is simply, hey, you guys should hang out here, and we should hang out here, and maybe in the midst of that weird thing that we do, just hanging out, God will do something. Do you know in our churches, we've got 5 churches in Germany, do you know what they're doing? This is all they're doing. It's just hanging out together. And so when Pastor Steve said, Simon Powell, who's church in Flensburg's just south of the Danish border, again, 11 hours on a train, to hang out he said 5, I think it was a 4-hour meeting, and then to travel back 11 hours, and people go, that's nuts. Why would you do that? Because again, there's this momentum thing that happens when we decide to just simply hang out together. There's something that happens. There's relationships that get formed, and then people say, where did you guys meet? Oh, we just met together at this place one time, a few years ago. And then our kids grow up together. They start meeting together. Now, I said the preteens thing, I hang out here with our preteens for Summer Revo, and I'm standing at the back, and basically there was 2 rows of kids, about 35 kids, preteens. They had an amazing band. Honestly, they had world-class speakers in here. Speakers that speak all up and down our country in schools, all 3 of them, right here, to our young people. And I'll tell you, as a dad of my son who's 11, I get emotional talking about it, because I just think, oh, man. And then they go to the night session So we kind of ease them into it, because it's pretty full on. It's 400 rowdy young people down the road there. And then I look out the back, and I came in with my two little boys, and Zane's down the front. And there's these 17-year-old high school boys, and there's Zane on top of their shoulders right in the front of the mosh pit. He's looking at him, he's like, look at me, Dad. He's so tiny down the front there. I'm like, is that my son? There's 3 or 4 other of the kids as well, just like, you just kind of get overwhelmed by the fact that, man, my kids have to be in that space. Rob and I were talking about it, 2 girls were here. And, so it's hard to articulate it. And I don't want to over-talk it, but I'm just saying what we do is important. And across the year, I want to talk about some actual practical stuff a bit later on about dates and things like that. But we just can't, when God says don't neglect this stuff, he really means don't neglect it. Don't keep working and then say, you've really got to get some things sorted. And I know the problem with these environments, you're always preaching to the choir because you guys are here, right? You guys are here. You're like, yeah, Jake, we get it. We know it because we came here. But it's the sense of, I was, again, talking to Pastor Steve for breakfast this morning. And he said to me again, he goes, Jake, man, just so cool that you guys have organized this. It's just he's overwhelmed with it. He's so good. Because Pastor Steve travels a bit around the world and does what he does. And he says again, he made a comment this morning because he said, Pastor Bruce said to him, we can't keep thinking there's a new thing. There's nothing really new under the sun. Truth is truth. Jesus is the Son of God. He's coming back, right? He saved us. He restored us. He rescued us. He redeemed us. That's it. That's all we've got to figure out. We fall in love with him because our lives have been changed, right? And so now we just got to tell as many people as we can about it. We've got to continue to gather together. We've got to continue to do these things. There's nothing new. And he says our churches in Europe, you know what we're saying? Hey, you guys just should get together. What do you mean? Well, just jump on planes and trains and automobiles and meet in a place and just hang out together. All of our European guys are hanging out in London, I think, once every 2 months now. Us as pastors have done it for years. The first Tuesday of every month, we all fly up to Auckland and we all just hang out for a couple of hours, right? High five each other and say, how's Eva doing? Then we go out for lunch. We have 3 meats and rice, right? And then Ed does, right? And then we basically catch planes and we go home. And the reason why we do that is because our churches grow because of that stuff. They really do. We put a lot of our budgets, our trustees all know this, we put thousands of dollars into travel just so that we can gather together. And I think we stop doing that at our detriment. And then we become small, isolated, local parishes, right? And let's be honest, we've got hundreds of them in our country. That I believe the primary reason they're not growing is because they're not connected to something bigger than their local campus. And that's not for me to talk about other churches, because I talking about our churches. So that why is really important. And that why came out of, I'm not going to teach to you, you know this, the ecclesia of God was this assembly of people called out for a common purpose. In the Acts church, when people were called out to a town kind of meeting, they would meet in the front of the temple and they would stand there and someone would address them. That was the ecclesia. It was a gathering of people. Now, when we live in the new covenant, everyone know that, right? We have a new covenant with God. That's for us, not with the Jewish people. It's actually for us. And God says, my presence goes with you everywhere you go. Everywhere you go, I go with you. We serve an incredibly mobile God, right? That goes with us. Vodafone's trying to do that with their technology, and our phones go with us, right? But it's like that with God. He goes with us everywhere we go. And every environment and space we go into, we carry his presence. So it's incredible when we all get together under one kind of umbrella, Jesus. Amazing what God does. So that's kind of what we want to do. And again, I just felt, God say really strongly, he said, I want you to say that the devil's greatest weapon against us is trying to separate us. Really, and look, we all think we're not, you can think, no, but I'm here. I'm here. But you got to be that separation I think is so sinister. And it's so clever that we sometimes don't even realize it. Separation can be as much as a mindset as anything else. You could be in every single room, right? And then on Sunday hear something your pastor has to say and go, nah. Right? So, and then all of a sudden it starts to, you don't work it through with somebody. You just go, nah. Then what? Then the nah can find somebody else who also thinks nah. and there's two nahs, right? Because you know how people find people like that? You know, hey, yeah, man. You know, you hear the comment, oh, man, we don't talk about Jesus a lot in our churches. We don't say that now, but you hear that comment. Man, our songs, they're not about Jesus anymore. It's all just this and there's lights and flashy stuff. And someone else, and people are looking for a voice. Someone else says, yeah, I reckon too. You think, yeah, hey. Then it's sort of two of you, like, you know. But it's just, again, I'm saying it because it's real and it happens. And we really need to guard against that. We need to guard against that separation, right? Because, again, I think the devil would say, hey, cool, come to these things. That's cool. But I'm not really worried about that. Because you're saying to people, hey, look, I'm here. I'm in the room. I come on Sundays. But there can still be a separation in your heart that you're like, I don't know if I'm on board with this. So when Steve said yesterday, and again, it just struck me again, and Pastor Sam said this in the past, you know, there's kind of many roads that lead to Rome, but you've got to pick one, right? If Rome was the destination, you've got to pick one, right? And at Equippers Church, we've chosen a road, right? We've chosen our heartbeats, and that these are our DNA, these are our governing, this is who we are. You know, with our Bible college, that's who we are. It's not Hillsong, it's not whatever, Bethel, but it's Equippers, and we like it. Now, it's not an interdenominational Bible college, so we don't have to look at every single expression and go, we're going to be this, we're going to be that. But this is the road that we've chosen. Now, what makes it the best road is that we've chosen it, and people have decided to get on board with it. Do you get it? We've all decided this is who we are. I often say I don't 100% agree with every single thing that we do. Sam knows this. We go back a long time. We've had some pretty robust debates over things, and sometimes I'm like, nah, I don't reckon. And he's like, what do you mean? I say, I don't reckon we should do that. Just don't think it's the thing, you know. And Sam's good because he'll canvass like, what do you guys think? And I remember he had this initiative he wanted to do in January. I think it was the first 4 nights in January, 1, 2, 3, 4. These kind of big encounter nights, bringing speakers and all this. And there was a bunch of us in a room, and we were all sort of looking at each other like, and, you know, and everyone's prodding each other, say something, you say something. And just none of us really were like, I don't know, man, this is, you know, and Sam's like, well, what? Say it. You know, he's getting all defensive. What? You know, we're like, well, we just, you know, I'm just like I don't know if that's the right thing. I don't know if we should do that. And he's like, really? He goes, you know, and Sam's real good because he'll make you say something. You can't just sit there and not say anything. He's like, Ed, what do you reckon? He's like, yeah, babe. You know, Ryan, what do you think? Well, you know, but I love the fact that Sam's pretty open like that. So we decided to go, okay, hey, maybe it was just some cheese I had before bed, I don't know, you know. But what I'm saying is there's a road that we've all chosen, and there's got to be buy-in to that. And I think that's the most important part of who we are, is the togetherness, in the sense that we've chosen this way to do it. Will we refine it and adjust it and shift it over? Yeah, of course we will. Things aren't working, yeah, we'll figure out another way to do it. But right now, I think we've got something. And again, if you travel a little bit, and when you go into different spaces and people ask you, you know, hey, again, like Sam said, what's your strategy around this and that? Like, well, we have a plan, but it's you know, we're figuring a lot of it out as we go, because we've never been here yet. We've never had 20-something campuses in New Zealand and 15-something around. We've never been there. So we're literally in uncharted waters, and we're sort of trying to figure this out as we go. Now, the great thing is you can say that and be honest about it and go, yeah, that's pretty much where we're at. So there's this sense of we kind of know where we're going, but we've never been here either. So the devil's trying to keep us separated. But I love the sense, and again, think about the 24 hours that we've had, right? And think about just the shift, I think just the shift in praise and worship and expectation this morning as opposed to yesterday, right? It's something tangible, and it's because there's a sense of togetherness, there's a sense of unity, there's a sense of where we're all here, we're all ready to go, you know, and we're all going to go back to our campuses and I think see some incredible increase this year. I love this thought. When I spent a bunch of years in corporate life, and I first heard this phrase, you know, the answer's in the room, usually. And the smartest people around a boardroom table were the ones that recognized they weren't the smartest. And they'd look around and they'd kind of go, well, someone's done this better than us. Someone's done this before, and we've got to figure out who it is, right? And so a good leader, you see good CEOs will do this. They're not always the smartest, but what they've done is they've surrounded themselves with brilliant people. You know, Ralph Norris, was the CEO of many banks in New Zealand, I think in New Zealand for years, and is it Commonwealth Bank now or something, and they just produced a $9 billion net profit a few years ago and all this, and And I read an article about him once, and people would say to him, man, why, Ralph, what, you're just amazing. He's a Christian man. And how do you do all the things that you do? He's just incredible what you're doing. And he goes, I just get the best people, and I recruit them, and I put them around my boardroom table. He goes, he's really saying it's nothing that I've done. I've just got the best people. And I've surrounded myself with just unbelievable people. And that's why we're doing all the things that we're doing. You've got to look around and say, there's some pretty incredible people in this room doing pretty incredible things. And I really believe we're going to pray in a moment, but I really believe God wants to give you the incredible confidence that only comes from the Holy Spirit. Because I can, like, people who know me well enough now, I can get up and, man, whenever you get up and do this, there's always these weird insecurities, eh? Sam and Steve spoke yesterday, right? I'm like, oh, I got to follow that up, But God always says to me, no, you don't. You just got to be you. So but I have this confidence in God to know that, no, God, you'll speak through me. Why? Because I wake up in the morning and I pray and I read my Bible. And that's it. And I say, God, what do you want us to say today? And God says, just say this stuff, right? So here's, in Jeremiah 31, let me read this, and I want us to sort of focus this thing now a little bit. And maybe, Sarah, can you come up on keys? Is that all right? So Jeremiah 31, and again, God really brought me to Jeremiah. Jeremiah 31 is just a really, if you're feeling low, just read Jeremiah 31, the whole of it. It's pretty awesome. But he says this, he says, in that day, right? In that day, says the Lord, I will be the God of all the families of Israel, and they will be my people. This is what the Lord says. Those who survive the coming destruction will find blessings even in the barren land, for I will give rest to the people of Israel. Long ago, the Lord said to Israel, I have loved you, my people, with an everlasting love. With unfailing love, I've drawn you to myself. I will rebuild you, my virgin Israel. You will again be happy and dance merrily with your tambourines. Again, maybe not so much in our churches, again, you will plant your vineyards on the mountains of Samaria and eat from your own gardens there. The day will come when watchmen will come and shout to the hill country, come, let us go up to Jerusalem to worship the Lord our God. I long for the day, and I reckon we're very close to this day, where in Napier people are saying, come, let us go to Napier, to Equippers Church, to worship the Lord our God. Why? Because God's moving there. Wherever God's hand is, people are attracted to it. Wherever God's presence, I think, is valued and honored, right? God's presence, people are attracted to it. They're attracted to the gospel. We've just often made it something that it isn't, right? That's another message. But we've really made it something quite complicated. And I pray that last week, come, let us go up to Wanganui to worship the Lord our God. Let us go up to Thames. Let us go up to Gizzy. Let us go up to Hastings. Let us go up to Taumaranui to come to worship the house. Why? Because God's moving there. Because there's something there. There's something that they're connected to that's bigger than just that local town. Right? They're connected to a God that's bigger. Again, Sam said yesterday, I think, how can you serve a big God and have a small vision? It's nonsensical. How can you serve a big God and believe tiny for your business? Right? How do you serve a big God and think that we can't break through in our schools? How do we serve a big God and think that we're not going to have incredible praise? And how can we serve a big God and have such tiny expectation? Come, let us go up. Come on, to wherever we are. Yeah, wherever we are, and worship the Lord our God. I love that. He's talking to people. Come, let's go together and do this. Right? Let's go together. Worship's always more fun when there's other people around. And there's a sense of, come on, let's go into our towns and gather people and say, come, God's doing something here. And it's powerful, and it's special, and it's unique. And God's on the move. And it's not religion. We're not taking people to church. We're the church going out and getting people and saying, come on, let's come in. We're the assembly. We're the ones gathered together. We're the ones, who says you can't do it? Who says you can't do it? You and God, again, I said yesterday, you and God, that's the majority. That's all you need. I share this delicately. We lay hands on people in church, right? We do. Of course we do. Powerful. But sometimes I wonder whether people are coming down the front just so that Pastor Jake or Rob or whoever can come and lay hands on people. Now, God doesn't move through me any more than he moves through anybody else. I often say to people in church, I don't have magic fairy dust hands. We don't. Hey, yeah, I did that dance way too easily. But there's no more power in my hands than in anybody else's. And sometimes we do altar calls and we pack the front and we just say, okay, I'm gonna pray from up here, right? Oh, you're not gonna lay hands on us? No, we believe in that, but I just feel sometimes people don't need that. You just need you and God. Figure it out. Just figure it out with God. Whatever you got to do, figure it out. You hear me? We still lay hands on people. So I believe that. But so it says in that day, and the Bible often talks about the day of the Lord, in that day, right? I really again feel to say that day is today. That day is this year. I don't want to keep seeing our churches grow by ones and twos. Now look, we can celebrate the fact that we're growing because, right, that's a win. But Sam's message is all about multiplication. We want to see the 100-fold increase, don't we? Why? Because I see hundreds and hundreds of families that are so broken in our worlds, that are desperate for Jesus. We have the answer. It's right there. It's right in front of us, the very thing that people are looking for. So that day's arrived. I don't want to keep reading about the amazing things that other people are doing. I get inspired by that, but I want to start seeing healings in Napier, right? I want to start seeing blind people not being set free in a symbolic sense. Like I want to actually see blind people open their eyes for the first time in church. You know what I mean? I want to see cancers healed. That's what I want to see. Because, man, people in our worlds can say, well, we don't really believe in God. Well, someone was healed of cancer last week in our church. What? Yeah. Like a guy in a wheelchair came down the front and just walked out of it. Well, where's your faith now? I believe now because I've seen it, right? But, man, is the faith in what we actually, right? The evidence of things not yet seen. The whole new covenant is all about what? The inside out, right? It's not going somewhere and laying down sacrifices. It's saying, Jesus says, no, I'm living. The new thing is I'm living on the inside of you. That's the new thing. It wasn't a replacement. It wasn't a version 2.0 of the old covenant. He replaced it. He said, in Hebrews, it says it's obsolete now. So our mindset and everything about us has to think everything's new. Everything's new. Everything's new. So I want us to pray. And again, I just finished with this little prophetic picture. It was about 12:30 last night, and I was in a room with windows. It was getting a bit stuffy, and I thought, there's windows in this room. And so I opened up the windows, and I had a door as well. And the door was kind of ajar, which is never good when you're opening windows, if you know. And I'm about half an hour into that kind of little REM sleep, just drifting off and I feel in a really good place. And then the door just went whoosh, and I'm just like, and I realized, the windows had blown the air, had come through, and sucked it right through the door, and the door just went wham. And I sort of got up and, oh my gosh, and then it was getting cooler, and I closed the windows, left the door there because I knew the door wouldn't slam anymore. And then I'm lying back down, and I'm just tense. I'm like kind of this, because I'm a pretty good sleeper, so it's not like me to not go back to sleep quick. And I sat up again and felt God's voice real clear. And he doesn't speak to me often like this, and he just says, I want you to talk about what just happened tomorrow morning. I'm like, about the windows and the doors, like when I talk about the vacuum that's created with the thing. But he said this, he said, you guys are all here to open up windows and doors. And again, he was talking about the opening up of spaces. You guys get to open something up so that there's a flow, right, that comes through. Did you get it? We're here as leaders, not for ourselves. We know what it is to be here. We're here to open up doors and windows, open up new spaces for people, and then we're here to say, hey, come on up. We're going to Jerusalem. We're going to whatever we're going to. Come on in, right? We're gathering people. It's not for us. Our lives are not for us, right? God calls us to love Him and love His people. And when we do those things, right, man, we wake up every morning and go, wow, I'm so fulfilled in what I get to do. But just that very action, as I did this, felt God say, just come on, I need you just to. And you know what I saw behind the door, right? Because I remember in this picture, I kind of saw behind the door, but God, I'm thinking there's going to be no one behind the door. As I open it up, there's no one, like as a leader, like who's really following me? You kind of think, you're leading, but then who said it that, if you're leading but no one's following you, you're just going for a walk, right? I'm leading, but there's no one there. And maybe the paralyzing fear for people is if I start to step out into that and I start opening up doors, there's going to be no one behind me. But the problem is everyone's behind the door And no one's prepared to be on the other side of the door. Because on the other side of the door, you're up here or you're in different spaces doing stuff, which is actually quite scary. E-group leaders, how many times are people paralyzed? Oh, man, I could never do that. What? Never open up your home and have a conversation about Jesus? Like, really? You can't do that? We make it so easy for people to be leaders. We don't want to make it hard for you. You don't have to go and do 3 years of Bible college to be a leader in our movement. But God's saying, again, I want you to open up the door. When you open up a door, window, again, the air comes in. Think about the air or the water, the flow is always talking about the Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit comes through like a freight train. And again, he's looking to see who can he fill? Who can, what he's looking for vessels, hey? Who can he fill up? Come on, what doors are we opening up? And what doors are we waiting for other people to open up? And God's saying, it's your door, Shane. It's your door, Gwen. It's not my door, right? Oh, Pastor Jay, can you open up? No. And stop calling me that. No, I'm kidding. Don't use it as a thing against me. We're all pastors, we know that. But come on, what doors are we opening up? Massive in Wanganui. Come on, what doors are we opening up, amen? Just because you guys, we said when you said to him, hey, I reckon we can do it together. That's the thing, opening up the door. Come on, let's do this. Nothing holding you back. And I believe God, as I was worshiping, I believe God just says, man, there's a confidence coming for you too. There's nothing holding you back from seeing Wanganui intermediates just on fire for Jesus. Come on, every intermediate, yeah? There's so much brokenness, man, in that age group. So he says that day's coming. But come on, I believe that day's here. Come on, I believe this is much more significant than us just getting together and hanging out. But I don't want us to go back and just live out the same year we lived out last year. That's just not, that's not honoring God. Yeah? That's not honoring a big God who's like, man, come on, guys. When he said it's finished, I shared this, I think, on last Sunday at church. He said it's finished. And then he says, and then Jesus sat down. And it was almost like, I'm done now. Gave you the Holy Spirit. You got everything you need now. I'm done. I'm finished. What I came to do, what I came to establish, it's done. And he says, you watch. And if you know the history of the church, just significant. Should never have existed under Roman occupiers. The whole stories of the church is just incredible. But there were people that said, no, come on. Today's the day we're going to see something amazing happen for Jesus. And so here's the thing. That I'll just say this final thing, and I want us to pray. But that picture of the yoking, I just want to finish with that, because that's the, one horse, 8,000 pounds of load. 2 horses yoked together, 24,000 pounds. Yeah, there's just so much more we can do together. So much more we can do together. And many of you asked, are we doing some other stuff? And we might look at maybe August after Shout, kind of a midwinter hangout. Do this together. If people are open to it, we'll just gather together. We'll keep doing this because we believe there's fruit. And if there's fruit and people want to keep doing it, we'll keep doing it, and we'll just keep hanging out together. I mean, this year, Equippers coming up, March. Again, another space where we get to hang out together. Yes, it's going to cost you. Yes, you're going to have to plan. Yes, you're going to have to think about it. Yes, you're going to have to be organised. Shout conference. Again, that's our biggest gathering of our together. Biggest sense of God's presence. If you saw the open heaven last night, man, just looked amazing. 2 tiers full, just looked incredible. That's what I'm believing for Shout. That's the kind of numbers that we're believing for. Why? Because I believe we make a statement to our nation when we're filling 5,000-6,000 seater venues. Stronger coming up, September. All the dates are there. Acts conference, if you're part of that. Men's gatherings, women's gatherings. We're just going to keep gathering. We get together every Sunday. That's cool. But just be a part of it and make a decision in your family. As for me and my house, this is who we're going to be this year. We're going to gather together because there's a momentum that's created because of it. Amen.